Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Politics in the Pub. Here's what you can expect from tonight. I've found 4 people who I consider to be quite inspiring. And in the winter, I think it really helps to have your heart warmed and to feel inspired, to look at people who are doing really cool things and hear how you can do that as well. So tonight is a night of inspiration and cool people doing cool things. And I'm very excited for you to hear from them. The topic is local matters, what's going on in Fremantle. We're going to hear from the 4 speakers and then we're going to have a break. On the break, if you make a new friend, you're doing it right. So please make an effort to make a new friend. We're called the Fremantle Network. After the break, we're going to have questions. And it doesn't just have to be questions. If you have an idea you want to share, tonight is the night, okay? It's very loosey-goosey. Please feel free to share your wisdom and your ideas as well. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our first speaker. Please welcome Skye Atherton. So Skye has lived in South Fremantle for her entire life and believes that Fremantle is one of the most iconic cities in all of Australia, and I agree. She plays the piano and she sings. She's a wonderful musician, that's what I gather. She loves board games, hanging with her friends in 80s movies, which means that you have impeccable taste as well, Skye. The reason Skye's here tonight is because she actually organised a petition a while ago to get the cat bus back. It was so successful that she was in the paper with the Dockers captain, Alex Pearce. Isn't that awesome? Since then, she's actually taken on a very interesting strategy to get the ministers to pay attention to her, and I'm very, very curious to hear about her strategy tonight.
Good evening. My name is Skye, and I'm a 14-year-old resident of South Fremantle. Tonight, I would like to discuss a matter that I believe to be very important: the Freo cat bus service. This much-loved facility was unfortunately cancelled in October 2023, shortly after the council and government's shared decision to cut the funding. A few months prior to the cancellation, news quickly spread about the cat's compromised future. I jumped on the case and sent a letter to the Minister of Transport, Rita Saffioti. With no reply, I decided to create a petition to keep the service alive, and in a time frame of approximately 2 weeks, I received over 500 signatures. I hand-delivered my petition to MLA Simone McGurk, and the Fremantle Herald also helped promote my campaign. Despite the efforts of many members in our community, it sadly wasn't enough to persuade the council to maintain the cat, and so the facility was scrapped. In the beginning of this year, I decided to reignite my campaign to get the Freo cat back on the streets. I have met with MLC Brad Pettit, former Independent Cat Hewlett, Fremantle Men's Dockers captain Alex Pearce, local business owners of Angels House, and recently Dr. Christian Murray and Fremantle councillor Aidan Lane. I have also been writing to Premier Roger Cook, Minister Rita Saffioti, MLA Josh Wilson, MLA Simone McGurk, Mayor Hannah Fitzharding, Fremantle councillors, and the CEO of the Fremantle Chamber of Commerce, Chrissy Mouse, to garner support and express the importance of the cat's reinstatement. The Fremantle Herald supported me and again published a story about what I've been up to. My story was brought to the attention of a wider audience when Mr. Gary Adhead interviewed me on ABC Drive Time Radio. As the Cat and Joondalup is partly funded by ECU, I thought it would be worth investigating the possibility of funding from Notre Dame. As a student of the Catholic education system, I requested a meeting with my principal to see if she had any suggestions for organising a meeting with Notre Dame. Moving forward, I hope to receive a response from the university. I will also be continuing writing to politicians and liaising with the office of Brad Pettit to create another petition. I am also planning to present at a council meeting in a few weeks' time in order to bring this matter to the attention of the Mayor once again. Why is this important? Whether it's reducing carbon footprint, decreasing parking and traffic congestion, easing cost of living, assisting the reduction of loneliness and isolation in seniors and parents of small children, providing teens with a safer and more inclusive service to encourage independence, or offering tourists with a convenient way of travel free of charge, the CAT caters for many needs, and that is why it is more than a bus, it is truly a community service that makes our town a better place. The government have kindly replaced the CAT with the 532 service that has a longer route and claims to have a quicker frequency, when in fact it only runs every 10 minutes during peak visitor times, while the CAT run ran every 10 minutes permanently. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to propose a question, one that I have continuously asked myself throughout my campaign. How is it that the services in Perth, Joondalup and Scarborough that ran parallel with the values of the CAP facilities in Fremantle have not been jeopardised, but rather upgraded? How is it that 19 months prior to the cancellation in Freo, Joondalup were promised plans to start running electric? How is it that in less than 6 months post the cancellation in Fremantle, Premier Cook allocated over $10.3 million to expand the routes and increase the frequency of the pre-existing Perth CAP? How is it that on the 22nd of February this year, an article was posted to advertise the new Scarborough CAT service that was a marketing technique for the Labor Party to help promote their campaign in the state election? One can only come to the conclusion that Freo is now a safe seat. Labor has been repeatedly elected to represent the Fremantle seat since 1934 without interruption. I would like to ask that each and every one of you here tonight to please consider how this matter has affected our highly respected town. If you are interested in helping me with my push to get the Freo CAT bus reinstated, you can write letters to politicians and local representatives or talk to me further. Thank you for listening to my presentation this evening, and I know that by working together we can ensure the iconic CAT will soon be back and cruising around the streets. I would love to discuss this further if anyone has any questions.
Now, our next speaker was suggested to me by a number of people in the community. May I please welcome Emma Livesey. Raise your hand if you're from Hilton. You would already know Emma, I'm sure. So Emma is the convener of the Hilton precinct, where she focuses on community-led projects, safety, and improving local spaces. The Hilton precinct received the 2025 Active Citizenship Award, which is really, really cool. Can I have a round of applause for that, please? Emma and her precinct group are a wonderful example of what you can do if you're willing to get up and out there. So today she'll be having a discussion on how locals can collaborate and lead to local change. Please welcome Emma.
Thank you everyone for having me. As Christian just said, my name is Emma and I've been the convener of the Hilton precinct now since about 18 months ago. And I just joined the precinct not to become the convener, I was just there to help add my voice to the conversations that were being had. Since then, our precinct has grown into something that's truly special. It's open, it's evolving, and it's just full of the most wonderful people who are all willing to step up and give things a go. Now tonight I'm going to talk to you about cultivating precinct groups. There'll be a bit of a focus on Hilton because that's a community that I'm a part of and know really well. But I do want to call out the other 3 precinct groups that are active in the city of Fremantle at the moment. In South Fremantle we have Lisa and Gina who are very actively running their group. You've got Jenny and Steph out in White Gum Valley who are doing amazing things, especially with a sustainability focus. You have Jared in South Freo, and you also have Paul and Samson as well. So each of these precinct groups are building really strong and connected communities in their own way, and that's really crucial when we start to look at how precinct groups can be formed. It's all about what's true to that community group that's living there. So we're all part of a growing movement of precincts driven by practical people who care about real improvements. So to give you an idea of what precinct groups are, at their core, they're local forums that are led by residents for residents. They're places where people come together and we're exchanging our ideas, raising concerns, planning events, and taking action on issues that affect the places that we live. Each precinct group looks a little different, but they all have that one common goal, and that's making our neighbourhoods better, stronger, and connected. That's the kind of impact that a precinct group can have. So in Hilton, we started by running events, and that was partly because that was what we wanted to do as the main members, but it also was really crucial to us that if we're going to have a group that's successful, that we are building on those relationships first and foremost. Through those events, we really quickly met a lot of people, and we discovered the people that had time, those who had ideas, and those who had a passion for getting involved, and the group slowly began to grow. What precinct groups excel at is turning individual concerns into collective actions. You can have one voice become many just by turning up and sharing your ideas. They offer a way for residents to meet, talk and respond to challenges in their area, whether that might be about traffic or parks or safety. They also shift the tone of community engagement, so instead of just being reactive or oppositional, they can be proactive and collaborative. In Hilton, we made a deliberate choice to work constructively with the city. We didn't wait to be invited to the table, we reached out. We kind of stormed in sometimes. We got to know our councillors and we built strong relationships with the city staff. And we always look for ways in which that we're going to collaborate on the issues that matter to us. Now, a big example in Hilton is our Gardens, Verges and Trees Committee. You may have heard of us if you're following us on Facebook or just seen out what we're doing. So that all started out with a meeting back in April of 24, where 3 people turned up. One wanted to talk about tree canopy. Another one was really worried about the birds, and the other person was really worried about our wildlife. That meeting of those 3, plus myself and Danny, who were the convener at the time, it turned into a fortnightly catch-up that we have barely missed a session. Tonight's our first session that we've missed in a long, long time, and that's so that we could be here today.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So one of the things that group does particularly well is it's really developed that working partnership with the city staff, and in order to get in Griffiths Park to stop the glyphosate use, or reduce the glyphosate use, I should say, because stopping it completely is the end goal, but we're not quite there yet. So what we're doing is we're working with the city staff to say, hey, when are you planning on spraying? Because we want to come in first and hand weed as much as we can so that you don't have to spray as much. And we do that regularly. So we have another planting day on this Sunday if anybody's free. We also made a conscious effort to stay out of blame and negativity. So even when decisions are made that we didn't agree with, instead of we asked what we could do to make it work for the community, and then if we did hear a no, we didn't walk away. We kept asking why and what could come next. And more often than not, it led us to a really good outcome. What we have today in Hilton didn't come out of thin air. It builds on the work of our earlier conveners, whose ideas and efforts still shape what we do. Many of them still come to meetings. One of them's here tonight. Hearing their stories helps us keep that history alive while continuing to move forward. What's helped Hilton thrive is that we just are not experts. We don't have a detailed plan, but we are willing to give things a go. So we tried all sorts of things at least once. Some worked really well and others not so much, but each time we learned something new. We left our egos at the door and we failed now and then, more now than then, but we reflected and we kept showing up and we evolved how we went about trying to get those successes. So we recognise that Hilton is made up of a variety of people. It varies from families and long-time locals to single households and seniors. We worked hard to make space for everyone, and that meant changing how we communicated, where and when we met, and the kinds of events that we ran. If something didn't suit everyone, we didn't just shut it down. Instead, we encouraged people to run with their ideas with our full support. We backed offshoot committees and embraced new initiatives. We currently have book club, craft club, gardens, verges and trees club. So there's quite a few branches that were required by our community that we just met up with. So we created a digital space as well so people could find us and hear about our current projects and get involved wherever they can. But our real strength has come from our face-to-face events because that's where the trust is built and it's where people feel welcome to take part in their own way. Precinct groups often begin with one person, but they grow when others choose to join in. All it takes is somebody willing to step up, talk to their neighbours and start something. So if you're looking to get involved and you're in Hilton, I say come along to any of our meetings. I'm going to spruik a couple. We've got a meeting for our Gardens, Verges and Trees Committee on August 12 at Miralinga. And then on August 16 we have one at Miralinga, which is our Hilton Precinct meeting as well. So all of that information is on our website, and I've very casually left some brochures on your desks. And if you're not from Hilton, from any of our other areas, and you don't have well, you can look up your local group. Again, that's South Fremantle, White Gum Valley, Samson, and North Fremantle. So they're the existing ones, but there are so many. And again, on the flyers on your table, you'll see a map of all the inactive ones. So if you want to be the person to start that inactive precinct group up, then reach out, come and chat with me, and I can help you out. And sometimes you don't even have to run the meetings or be the leader. You can just help by taking minutes, handing out flyers, managing a Facebook group, or even just cooking a sausage. Every contribution makes a huge difference, and it's one less thing that the conveners would have to do themselves. So if you've ever wondered whether or not you could make a difference in your neighbourhood, I can tell you the answer is yes. We are seeing it every day in Hilton. So hopefully you can do it in your community groups as well. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Adam Bennett. Adam is a performing arts professional, having worked as a performer, creator, and writer for over 35 years. Adam grew up in Perth, and after 2 decades living and working in Europe, now lives in Fremantle. Adam has presented an interview show on Freocast, was a candidate in the recent state elections, and creates theatre productions for SciTech. Adam also produced the Brink Festival, a fossil-free Fremantle-based performing arts alternative to Fringe World, as part of a push to eliminate fossil fuel sponsorship of the arts in WA. We're working closely with Adam for the next month's Politics of the Pub. This is the flyer for it. It's not going to be here, it's going to be at the Urban Winery. We're trying a new venue. Okay, so if you're interested in that, please do come along. Adam's going to tell you all about it. Please welcome Adam Bennett.
Thanks, Christian. So here in Fremantle, the political landscape after the double whammy of the state and federal elections has undergone at the same time no change. Simone McGurk and Josh Wilson are still our representatives, and also fundamental change. Neither of them can consider themselves to be in a safe or easily winnable seat anymore. So this makes for interesting times in Fremantle. Clearly, many residents were keen for a change of representation. There is a widespread dissatisfaction with two-party politics. Whether it's red or whether it's blue, we watch career politicians more interested in remaining politicians than in representing their electorates. This time round, a group called Voices for Fremantle formed and quickly built energy, seeking a candidate who could stand as what they would call the community independent for the state of Fremantle. It's not easy to work out who are the people driving this group, at least from the outside. They describe themselves as a grassroots movement, a non-political campaign group. And once Kate Hewlett agreed to be the state candidate, this campaign attracted many people disaffected with the current choices and raised an incredible amount of money in a very short time. And the other groups that normally contest the seat of Fremantle realise that this particular new player in the electoral game couldn't easily be dismissed. In both state and federal elections, the incumbents were very nearly toppled by the efforts of this newcomer. Skillful use of social media and a large budget meant that Kate's visibility was high during both campaigns. The appeal of an independent to disaffected voters of both red and blue meant that preferences flowed to her from either end of the political spectrum. Interestingly, the local Greens campaign recommended putting Kate high on the preference list, but many left-leaning progressive voters, including Greens voters, decided to preference Labour over Kate Hewlett. However you voted and whoever you supported, you didn't get what you wanted in this election. Labour voters saw their darlings struggle to remain in the seat. Greens voters saw an erosion of support, at least in the lower houses, because of the independent. Voices for Fremantle watched their pick come very close to winning, but not succeed in either campaign. In Fremantle, upper house Greens votes in the state election were the highest in the state. And the Greens vote for the Senate in the federal election was also very high. And nearly a quarter of all voters in central Fremantle voted Greens in the Senate. So, taking stock. I believe that Fremantle is a very progressive seat. I mean, there is a historically Labour voting working class population, as well as a very arty and alternative crowd living side by side. And as Fremantle gentrifies and others move in, that demographic may change. But Fremantle is now a seat which Labour is likely to lose soon. Which begs the question, what do we do now? How do Fremantle people who want change come together in common cause? What are the things that unite us? How do we make sure that we don't run interference in our respective efforts to secure change? How do we work together, and what are the issues that may prevent us from doing so? So, on August 26th, there will be an event called That Was Interesting. The flyers are on your tables. It's an opportunity for all people, it's an open meeting, to meet and openly have the conversations that may be necessary to put the elections and the election results behind us and start to find common cause. There may be people who, despite having common cause, are holding on to issues and grievances and concerns about what happened during these campaigns. There might be others who can actually see opportunities to work together to succeed in change making. It will be some time before the next round of state and federal elections, but it's never too soon to start organising for them, and we have a lot to do in this critical decade, so let's get started, let's heal, and let's get together. This meeting will be an open space meeting, which means that all conversations are on the table. It won't be in the usual politics in the pub format. We won't have speakers. People can just declare what conversations they want to have and host those conversations in a very open style. So please come along.
Thank you very much, Adam. I'm going to plug it one more time. It's called, I lied, this won't be the only time I plug it. It's called That Was Interesting, Let's Talk About It. It's for last Tuesday of next month at the Urban Winery, and it's starting earlier. It's starting at 6:30, I believe.
People are welcome from 6. Well, things will get going.
Yeah, you're welcome from 6 to meet people, so please do come along. I believe it's going to be a very, very enjoyable evening. Okay, now our last speaker is Paul Loring. So I phoned Paul today and I said, what can I include in your bio? And he basically just trusted me to go off my heart. So, like many of you, Paul is a regular to Politics in the Pub. He's been coming here for a very, very long time. He contacted me a little while ago and he said, there needs to be more of an effort to help people make friends in Fremantle, to go from being acquaintances to being friends. And that really spoke to me, because a big part of what Politics in the Pub is about is helping people to make friends. But I see people coming and leaving as acquaintances. And so Paul already was a man after my own heart. So we met up, we had a coffee, I invited him around for dinner, and he bought me a poetry book. I've just really taken a shine to you, Paul. So tonight Paul is going to be talking about the effort of going from acquaintances to friends and what we can do about it in the city, in our suburbs, and between one another. Please welcome Paul Loring.
Yeah, I just want to start with a bit of a digression, and that was, how inspirational is it to have a 14-year-old Skye come in here and talk to us about something that is so core to Fremantle. It's just wonderful. So, both the UK and the USA, their health departments have been reporting more regularly increasing loneliness, particularly for the younger and the older age groups. Sadly, we don't hear that much from our own government. At a recent men's table, several men spoke about the difficulty in forming friendships, despite following the general advice to join groups and activities. One gent mentioned he heard it took 200 hours to form a friendship. That's an awful lot of cups of coffee. Surely we can do better than that. 2 months ago, the City of Fremantle invited seniors to contribute to their revision of the seniors plan. 2 topics stood out: transport, the lack of a cat bus, and I promise you, Skye and I have not colluded.
Not yet.
The other topic was loneliness. There were about a dozen women and 3 men there. 2 of the men were solo, but all of the women arrived with friends, relatives or partners. And I thought that in itself was interesting. You know, the gender difference. A couple of the women were quite dismissive of the situation, saying that they met with friends for coffee most days of the week, completely missing the point that they had already got established groups of friends. What is so noticeable to me, particularly today, is politics in the pub. A large group of various ages, genders, political beliefs, all supporting, all participating, sharing, listening to the views of each other. So I wondered about having a similar concept, but in the middle of the day, targeting seniors and others. The group weren't so keen on the idea of politics. We'll come to that, philosophy. But that's just a naming problem. But I still feel that this concept is worthy of further consideration. Would this help relieve loneliness? A couple of days ago, Christian emailed me to get a couple of bullet points for my biography. The thought that popped into my head at the time was, why does anybody want to know about an old fart like me? Then I thought, what a strange phrase. A bad smell, but no longer of any relevance. But I was similarly cognizant that that is actually the reality of increasing age. We are no longer of any relevance. But these events here are an exception. There is wisdom here in the individuals and in the collective group. So in a moment, we'll have an interlude and then Q&A. And rather than have questions for me, I'd like to hear your thoughts and ideas about the question, how to turn acquaintance into friendship. So please use the interlude to talk to your friends about this. And then let's hear your wisdom. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much to Paul Loring. Another round of applause, please. So just before we go to break, I'm going to let you know, Paul has the intention in the future of having potentially events to help people meet one another, which isn't going to be politics in the pub or to do with politics. I'm going to be including that in the emails and I'm going to be plugging it. If anything happens, you will hear about it, so please do stay tuned, okay? Do not see tonight as a full stop, see it as an ellipsis. Any questions, any ideas, everything is welcome. Just put up your hand and I'll come to you.
Yeah, me.
So Paul, we had a really good discussion about friendship and acquaintances and everything. So I found myself asking the question is, what do you need from a friend? What is it that you need? Not you, but you, and you. And what do we need from a friend that we can't get from an acquaintance? And is it something else? Is it a friend? Because we had a discussion here about what our friendship means, and maybe that's not what is going to provide the need for someone who is looking for friendship. So that's my question.
So I said I wasn't going to take questions. I'm looking for the wisdom from the audience.
That might come next.
So, why I was thinking about the idea of applying the politics in the pub principle to a daytime meeting, but not necessarily with the word politics in the title, was that I feel that in this sort of meeting that there is more an exchange of minds. So we connect them at that more intellectual and feeling level. We start to get enthusiastic about what people are saying, even if we're at odds with them. And I think it's that intimacy that helps one then discover people and say, if something happens, you think, this is someone I want to meet with again. So friendship is about, I think, the desire to meet with that person on a regular basis and to care about them. They become important.
Thank you.
A way I've had it described is a friendship is somebody you'd like to be on an actual ship with.
Thanks, Christian. I've got lots of questions, but I'll start with one. Firstly, I was going to ask Skye, what is it that's holding up the cat coming back? For example, who is it that's going to say, yes, do it? Is it a state government thing? Because the local council here seems to have washed its hands of it.
Yeah, well, that's a really interesting question because I've been meeting with lots of different representatives and politicians from different levels. So when I met with MLA Simone McGeck, she told me basically that she wasn't in the position to make the decision about the maintenance of the cat bus service before it was cancelled. So she basically wasn't in high enough power to maintain it. But I recently heard that the council decided to cancel it because they didn't have the funding. So there's many different answers floating around about who funds what and who's part of what, but I think it does come down to the council at the end of the day because they fund 60% of it while the PCA, the Public Transport Authority, funds the further 40%. So it's kind of a mix.
I was thinking, Simone, because she's a minister and she has these huge responsibilities in these particular areas, often says, I can't do this. I can't do anything about the closure of our emergency system at our hospital. I can't do anything about the building of a district police station in the centre of our CBD with 100 vehicles coming in and out with lights flashing. I can't do anything about anything, it seems, that isn't of her interest. Simone. Yeah. So, and I'm only mentioning her particularly because I've had that experience. But it seems that there's a lot of that across the board when it comes to talking to politicians. They seem very interested in just dealing with the things that they are particularly interested in, and if they can get away with it, they'll ignore us.
I've got another question. Paul, don't hand the microphone back. Yeah. Just a thought. I know that, for example, Bill Massey, who's one of the ex-councillors of the city of Fremantle, he's started a knitting group. He doesn't knit himself, but he gets a whole group of people sitting around the table when they knit and chat. And I also know that Dixon Uniting Church, for example, has what they call Never Alone. And so parishioners go and pick up people, and then they have a dinner together with these people who don't go out very much. They have a dinner and then they sing some hymns and songs and bits and pieces. And the Bill Massey one and the Victim Uniting Church one, the thing that they've got in common is that they're both sort of a common journey. You know, there's the knitting journey, and they're knitting for homeless people, and then there's the singing songs and the meal thing. So it's a common journey. Yeah, thank you for that, Lord.
Paul, here you are.
Skye, first let me say what a wonderful talk you gave.
Thank you.
Okay. Well done, young lady. My question is around, before we even tried to get the cat bus back, why did it get stopped? And you mentioned about funding from places. However, from a practical point of view, I'm thinking, having been in Fremantle for 4 years or so and seen cat buses, occupancy rates and the sizes of buses, even at public transport, a few people on them, the routes that they go, so there's competition for routes. Where does the cat bus go? How much is it occupied? We've got transfer tag on, so there should be data for all of this. And then secondly, if the routes that aren't travelled by the public transport that were accessed by cat buses, the sizes of buses that we have, are there smaller sizes and stuff like this? So this may all be questions that you know, but research that I would just ask, do you have any of that information?
Well, with the occupancy of the cat bus, when I was speaking to MLC Brad Pettit, he did mention that you saw way more people on the cat than you do on the 532. And the 532 is a great service, but I do believe that people are more inclined to use a service that is more cost friendly, especially during the cost of living crisis. So I think the occupancy of the cat will be higher than the 532, but I'm not sure based on statistics.
So I'll just add something to that. When the cat was being taken away, Aidan and I, we made a book called Keep the Cat Tag. They say, write to your minister, so we wrote her a book. And for that, she was the Minister of Transport and of Tourism. And so I reached out to people all over the world. We had people from Chile, from Ireland, all over. And they would say that before they came to Fremantle, they were told, keep an eye out for the cat bus, and it stuck in their mind. I don't think any tourist in the world is ever told, keep an eye out for, and then a sequence of numbers, and they remember it, right? So there's a utility to that as well. Right, who else has an idea or a question? Yes, fantastic.
Thanks for wonderful talks. My name is Yohei. I have a question to, I can't remember the name of the gentleman, Adam. So wonderful campaigns on the Wami election. My question is there any appetite to nominate someone for the upcoming Fremantle local election that's coming up, if that's relevant to you?
The councillors and the mayor?
Yeah.
I'm sure there are people putting their hands up, but not that I'm aware of. So this isn't why I'm organising this. It's more to do with the state and the federal election. So I know the local council elections are coming up, so, and I think that there might be an appetite to make sure that the progressive feelings and attitudes of Fremantle are reflected within the council, but that's not really what this is about. Though, having said that, I think it's great for the Fremantle community to come together and just go like, what does change making look like to us? How do we make sure that the people who represent us, both at state and federal and probably council level, really represent the communal feelings about, you know, the kind of community values we want to live by, the principles by which we want to connect with each other, and all of those things. But no, I'm not aware.
Just going to ask you one more question. So just assuming that you have some appetite to go for local council election, would you have any specific agenda?
I don't have any appetite to go for a council election. It's all right. That's not on my radar. So, but thank you.
Do I see any hands? Yes.
Firstly, I'd like to say that I'm Skye's mum and I'm super proud. That's not my comment. Your comments resonate so greatly with me. My mum passed away 5 years ago, my dad a couple of months ago, but when my mum passed away, my dad found it so difficult to create new friendships and relationships with people. He felt so alone and didn't know where to turn. So myself, and I'm sure Skye, would love to support you in any future endeavour.
There is an event happening at the Wally Up Civic Centre tomorrow from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to help people connect and discuss as well. So if you're free, just head on over to the Civic Centre. There's an event right there.
I think it's called community conversation.
Yes.
I'd just like to ask everybody in this room, how many of you are involved in any form of a volunteer organization? A sporting club, a church, whatever. How many are involved? Not a lot, right? I am. And you know what our major problem is? Our major problem is we don't have enough folks to do the things that we want to do. We don't have enough volunteers. And we don't care whether you're 14 or 82, if you can come and do the job, most volunteer organizations will be very happy to have you. So if you're sitting around sort of watching television, bestir yourself and find something that's of some interest to you, and the rewards you'll get will more than compensate for the effort you put in.
I don't think you could search this entire city and find somebody who regrets volunteering. Do I see a hand up? John Bird.
Sorry, you can't keep me quiet. I just want to ask about the Hilton community group that you set up. How did you get started? Because, I mean, how many people makes a group? And where do you have it? At somebody's house? Or if you go up and down the street putting little flyers out, let me tell you, that's bloody hard work, and it doesn't work much.
So I'm lucky that the Hilton Precinct was started before me. It was started by another member called Danny, who reinvigorated it back in October of 2023, but it has been active and inactive for a number of years over the past 20 plus years. I met with the past convener a couple of weeks ago from 2014, and I know of conveners that still come along to meetings now who were doing it back at the beginning of the turn of the century. So she gave me some great insight into what a reason they built a tree in Hilton, planted a tree in Hilton, was so that they could have Christmas carols by that Christmas tree, which we didn't even know existed. So now knowing that, guess what we're planning on next. But as far as getting people to come along, it is a matter of mainly social media. It's the most common way that we connect with people. We have a community Facebook page called the Hilton Hub. It's not affiliated with the Precinct group, but we post on there a lot. We flyer quite a bit as well. Helps to have a printer in the family. It certainly makes costs a bit more effective. And we keep just going out there and talking to people everywhere we go, whether it's a school, whether it's a real estate agent, the coffee shop. We just are talking to people. Sometimes I might wear my Hilton Precinct yellow just so that people know who I am and might just start a conversation. But as far as where we meet, we have a few rules that are given to us by the City of Fremantle, because we are a City of Fremantle precinct group. And those rules say that it has to be in a public venue, it has to be accessible to all. So we're really lucky to be sponsored by Miralinga, and they allow us to use their facility on Rennie Crescent, which happens to be the heart of Hilton, so it's a fantastic venue. And it means we can do a lot of things, from craft club to help any kids' activities and events. So we're really, really lucky.
We've got one from Paul and then one over here.
Can I just mention something about that? So when I was living in White Gum Valley, I went to the White Gum Valley Precinct Group, and I was really impressed with the way they organise themselves and the things they talk about, and the influence they have on council as well. They often have councillors come and talk to them. But a precinct group is just one of the many community groups that exist here. You know, there's what Shani Gray even does with the West Beaconsfield Eco-Burbia group is another amazing way of connecting people. All of those people in all of those streets have become connected together and now talk seriously about like how to help each other and how to connect with each other. And what Paul was saying about, you know, developing friendships, that's a great way to do it. Just like get to know your neighbours, get to know the people who live around you. And it's the same with the North Freo Social Farm. It's the same with the people who live on the George Street in East Fremantle. They are a very well connected community. They do connected community events all the time. So it is definitely a thing that we should do more of in Fremantle, is just build these connections in these communities, little micro communities that are amazing.
And just to add to that, this is a topic that has come up recently within our wider convener group, is that we want to connect with those other groups. So precinct groups, like you say, are just a small part. There's friends of groups that do a lot of amazing things around as well. So the piece that's missing in the city of Fremantle, I believe right now, is we don't have a forum in which that we can get together and talk about it and start helping us make those little connections. For example, our Gardens, Verges and Trees Committee work really closely with the Valley Verges team as well. So they're out in White Gum Valley. So we want to create a forum, and it's happening in November. So if you're interested in getting involved in that, please let me know, because I don't know all the groups that exist, and we're trying to really spread that network out so that we can have an opportunity to meet other people and make those connections, to start building into bigger events and connecting our resources.
My question for Paul, likewise, Dave. I would like to know, my question to you is,
Where do you see the problem is? Let me explain. If we say there's meeting someone, be it the coffee shop, down at the dog beach, wherever, you exchange a few things, I've done with Mr. Bird here. So there's that. Then there's the next phase, which is, see you again for another coffee sort of thing. And then where do friendships develop from? And the requirements for, i.e. companionship, something on a regular basis, or then when it's come to friendship, as you mentioned, about caring for someone and so forth. And intrinsic, in my view, to all of this is communication. And where do you do this? There's the Glide Centre, there's the meeting place here. Quite personally, I came here 2 years ago, took my dog down the beach, and now we've formed our own little social kind of group. Where do you perceive, within all what I've just said, where's the problem?
Well, it's great when those magical events happen, isn't it? It's great when those magical events happen. Because, you know, what you're describing it is just that. It's just a random situation has occurred that's led to friendship. And so how do we cultivate that? You know, I don't know. What I do know is that, you know, people do try joining groups and doing things which seem to be things that they might enjoy doing together, but they don't necessarily lead to anything further. And I wondered if there was something then that could aid that. And that's why I was thinking that maybe it's at a more of an intellectual level, that there's, and I don't mean that in an academic way necessarily, but there's a connection between heads than, rather than just in a carpenter's shop, the saw and the plane. So, you know, as I said, I'm listening to you to see if there's any ideas or solutions out there.
Thank you.
I think that was a really good question. Pardon me, would you like to go first?
So we do have 1, 2, and then 3. Let me introduce everybody. Daniel has recently come over from Tasmania, and he doesn't know anybody here, and he's looking to make friends. So this is Daniel. So you're number 3 in line, Daniel.
Was it a follow-up? Was it a question? Was it a follow-up?
Yeah, thanks. Paul, I think what you're raising is very interesting. However, one of the things I think with regard to people in a certain age category is a lot of ageism. And there's a lot of assumption that because you're all of the same age, you're all going to have something in common, and other than just being of the same age. Or there's a lot of assumptions that what should be offered to you is of a certain type of music or a certain type of whatever. And often there's not a sufficient assumption that people in that age bracket may actually want to discuss philosophy. They may want to discuss politics. They may want to discuss literature. They want to do a whole bunch of things that are not necessarily equated with being an old person, which is about maybe sitting around and knitting. Nothing wrong with that. It's fantastic if you can. But nonetheless, they may want other things. And they may also want something else, which isn't just hanging out with people of the same age. They might like to be with people across a whole range of ages, and they find that more enjoyable, actually. So I do think there's a lot of assumptions in this space that we need to challenge. Nonetheless, I commend you for what you're trying to do. Over to Tasmania.
No, I think we have a second in line.
I feel really rigid now in keeping count. So thank you to everybody for your patience. I appreciate it very much.
Could I reserve the 7th spot?
Thanks, Christian, for sticking to protocol. It's very, very important. So, one of the things here clearly is the importance of community groups and associations. That's the common thread running through, whether it's combating loneliness, whether it's solving a bunch of problems in your neighbourhood, whether it's solving a very specific bus-related problem in the neighbourhood, whether it's getting together and discussing politics and frustration with blue and red and maybe green. Now, what I lived in France for most of my 20s, and one thing I found really interesting there is that when you're actually looking to buy or rent a house and you're looking at the guides of where you want to live, they're all the standard metrics, pricing and so forth, but there was always one called solidarity. And the solidarity measure was the number of community associations in that particular neighbourhood. So that gave you an indication when you were moving into a particular area to say, well, hang on a minute, this is full of engaged people, they've created a bunch of associations, community groups and so forth. Maybe this is somewhere that, I might want to be a part of. Or maybe this place is a bit of a dormitory town, or it's largely businesses or something, and that ratio is a little lower. But you manage what you measure, right? So if you've got something out there that actually talks to that in a more public way, then it's a way of just, making it more visible to people that this is important and something they should take into account.
I'm coming to you, Daniel. So I'm going to point out something here. There's a cliche saying, which I know that you all know, which is, it's about the friends you made along the way. If the destination is making friends, then you've excluded yourself from that cliche, right? I think if you ever meet up with somebody and you say, I want to make a friend, will you please be my friend? You're going to frighten them away, yeah? And so it always has to be tangential. Making a friend can never be the direct corrective.
Thank you, Christian, and my apologies for interrupting. I was setting up. I wouldn't consider myself someone who's particularly good at making friends, and so your talk was very interesting to myself. I've had the privilege lately of living with my uncle, and I've seen a very close friendship which he cultivated with someone he met at the men's shed. He'd been going to the men's shed for a couple of years, and like myself, he's quite a solitary fellow. But he found a man there who enjoyed the same movies as he did. And so they made a commitment to watch a movie once a week or once every fortnight. they both enjoyed. And they'd have a cider and they'd watch a sci-fi movie or something, I don't know what it was. And that went on for a year or two, and then they would start to meet up for other reasons, to share personal problems and, you know, to discuss things of import in their lives. And just recently, his friend suffered from a couple of mini strokes, ended up in the hospital, and luckily survived and is mostly fine, cognizant, and etc. And my uncle, who had basically been, you know, just hanging with him, has since gone to the hospital each day to bring him a sandwich or a decent cup of tea. And I wouldn't say that I'm any expert on what forms of friendship by any means, but I would say that I think that a conscious and deliberate investment in another human being would be as close as I could get to a definition. And I think that applies also to the communities that we're all trying to form here, as well as to, you know, one-to-one interpersonal relationships. I think putting in something by choice to another human, to sacrifice some of your own time or resources. I don't know if that helps, but that's my little 5 cents.
So it's interesting, some of the thoughts that are coming through now. So Christian's comment about tangential, I find that personally quite intriguing. Your comments about age is really very central. Even though I'm thinking about what can be done for seniors, because that was the question posed to me at the City of Fremantle Seniors Planning session, maybe I'm actually locking in the wrong process, you know. But I was trying to actually take a different approach, though, within that group who did want to possibly meet in a different way. One of the things that is quite noticeable is with that sort of group of seniors, particularly if they're all women, that they're not necessarily going to want to come to a place like this, a pub. But there are many, like me, quite happy to. So thank you for your thoughts so far.
Just on the age thing, the intergenerational thing, younger men nowadays are absolutely obsessed with finding mentors. So speaking as somebody who was raised by a widow, I would describe myself as being starved and experiencing a masculine malnutrition, right? For the last 10 years, I have been facing a starvation of adult role models. And so I've actually deliberately gone out there and sought friends who are like 40 years older than me. So there is an intergenerational thing which is occurring for the younger men that I'm keeping company with. Okay, do we see hands up? Yes, Jamie Thomas.
Sorry, Paul, I've got another one for you. As you mentioned earlier, there's a similar loneliness between older men and younger men. I live just up the street on Gold Street in a shared house full of 7 20 to 30-year-olds. But there's a lot of senior citizens on our street, and the only interaction we seem to have is getting the cops called on us or complaints about the way we park our cars, which fair enough is all our fault. But I think it would be really nice for us to form some kind of bridge between us and them. So if you have any suggestions for how we could make the first move and make ourselves approachable?
I think the way that comes to mind immediately is a street party. So you as the younger men take the leadership and organise a street party and make sure the older groups are welcomed. So for example, in my street, I've organised a street party for a long time, and it's always held outside the lady who's been living in the street virtually all her life. So she doesn't have to do anything. We always do it on her verge. We put out the tables for her and the food for her, and I think if it was done with younger group like yourselves, that might be a useful trigger. And we've got we're at the right time of year for Christmas in July, so there's an excuse to do it now.
Thank you. Can I just make a suggestion as well? Gardening. Gardening. Yeah, just go and say, like, do you need any gardening done? They will love you. You're young, you have muscles. It's a great way to connect. Yeah. Just make sure that you get explicit instructions before starting to.
You reminded me of a story. I did a course where I was helping people who were largely finding themselves unemployed for one situation or another. And one of the members of that course was actually quite a senior lady. And when it got to the last week of this course, we were talking about what it is that you want. And she just came out very bluntly and she said, I just want a man. He doesn't have to do gardening, he doesn't have to do painting, I just want sex.
Were you on Tinder?
Okay. Is there more to that, or we've got three people now? We've got Jackie and we've got Kelly and Maru.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, if you want a jazz singer for your hypothetical.
Oh yeah.
If you want music for your hypothetical party, I can sing like an hour's worth of jazz. Maybe that'll get them coming along.
Kayleen is the resident jazz singer. If anybody wants a musician. Jackie Baker.
Christian, thank you for your words of wisdom about not going directly for the friendship, but make it a bit tangential. So I have to say, disclose that I came here tonight with the direct intention of meeting Emma, because I've just moved to Beaconsfield and I really miss the North Fremantle community that I've been a part of for 25 years. And so thank you. I think something's going to happen from this. And while we're in the room, I noticed that there's a few councillors here. And so I'd like to say some really filthy language that Fremantle Council abhor, and it rises the voice in every council employee. And that is, Fremantle has a lot of neglected back orphan laneways that are being redeveloped for infill, and the council is making double, triple and quadruple the rates from them and not valuing them, and even as a place of connection, as I've seen them in some places. But yeah, I just want to say the phrase that there's a lot of laneways, back laneways, that are places of connection as well, and places of access that have been abandoned at the moment, and they are called private laneways and no one takes responsibility for them, but they've got a lot of, they should go in the list of infrastructure that includes sewerage, electrical substations and traffic management when you want to do infill, if we want more people in Fremantle. That was very direct, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
We've got one, and we've got two, and then we've got three. Brilliant.
Okay, just a really...
was there a response? Oh, I'm so sorry, can we just do a response? I'm so sorry. We've got a direct response from Jenny Ashford. I beg your pardon.
Sorry, look, funnily enough, I was around behind my house today in another lane because somebody's moved in, actually bought this derelict property in Trusting Lane, and I'm doing this most amazing job to this house that was built probably in the 80s. I think it's rammed earth, but it was just derelict, completely overgrown. It was like something out of a sci-tech movie. But anyway, they also live on a private lane. And we've investigated private lanes, and I know it might sound easy for people to say, well, council should be doing something about these lanes. And to some extent, I think there is some validity in that because, you know, but the way that it works is that when subdivisions happen normally in today's world, all the roads, all the infrastructure, all the plumbing gets put in by the developer, and then it finally gets handed to the council, and then the council maintains it into the future. So to take over all the private lanes of Fremantle, which is still in the hands of like churches and odd entities and this sort of thing, and sometimes just private people, is not something we can just take on. It would probably seriously challenge the viability of our economics in the city because it's not an insignificant task. And then when it comes to water, electricity, gas, that's all state government infrastructure. So I just wanted to say it's complex, but I tend to, I think the lanes are the most beautiful parts of Fremantle. They're very beautifully quaint and all the rest of it. And it's just lovely to see people inhabiting them and doing wonderful things. This couple behind me and now got a bright orange front door, the same colour as T2, orange. and they're doing this amazing job. But of course it's still a really poorly maintained lane and something has to be done. So look, it's complex. I just like
a large number of derelict laneways in Hilton, and it was something that came up a few times on our Hilton Hub Facebook page. People wanted something done about it. Nobody has yet stepped up to do the actual doing, but our Gardens, Verges and Trees group is currently investigating, first of all, who is the owner of the laneways. Step one achieved, we've unlocked who the owner is. Reaching out to the owner has been fun. We've gotten through that challenge, and this is all over the space of about 6 months. So this isn't an instant fast win. Same as you, we went straight to the council initially. The council said no.
I want to do it. I want to make friends doing it.
Yes, so.
And hold the developers to account when they say they're going to do it.
Yeah, the people that own most of the Hilton laneways, they're not the developers anymore. They are random. I think we've got an insurance company that owns one of them. So finding who the owner is the first step, and that can be hard. Getting in touch with the owner is hard. Then getting permission to do anything, another hard step. But what I'm trying to say here is it's about the perseverance of keeping through with it and having a group of people to bounce off of. So we've got a Gardens, Verges and Trees committee, and there's about 10 of us that are there regularly, and we're sharing that between us to make sure that it happens. So now that we know who owns it, now that we know that technically we can do something about it, now we're in the planning stage of what do we want to do and where are we going to get the money, because we know that we can't get the money from council. Council have been very clear that it's not theirs to do, and we respect that. So what we do now is say, well, if not them, who? And so we're going out there looking for grants that are specifically for this type of action. So if anyone knows of any, please let me know, because that's our next step. Is if we can't get the money from council, we find the money in order to do it, and we've got the bodies to make it happen.
We've got about 10 more minutes till final statements. I've got a question coming up for Adam, so go ahead with lines.
Hi, my name is Fiona. This is a two-pronged kind of question and just some ideas. So in terms of building friendships, I love that show on the ABC with the kids at daycare centres and people coming in, elderly people from, just elderly people coming into daycare centres. I think that could be possibly something that maybe the council, I don't know if there's a website that could be set up, because there's heaps of daycare centres all over this area. And one of the great, and even like primary schools and maybe even high schools, because the most amazing thing that I love, I've got a couple of 99-year-old friends that are just so precious, and I often said, I've said to them both, or you might get a letter from the key, and they said, I bloody well hope not. I don't want to live that long. But my point is that these are very precious stories that people of many ages and people who are older or single or feeling lonely, they have stories to impart. And I think, going to, if the council could maybe start some kind of a website or something through the Fremantle Herald, but just generating lines and possibilities for people to go and speak or meet up. Because the thing with the daycare centres is they then get involved with families. It's just a tree, it's its roots that grow out. And I think that's amazing. And then getting back to the cat bus, one of my bugbears is I live at the new entertainment street of Fremantle, South Fremantle, where we've had it's fantastic. We've had loads of problems with noise, parking in the streets, just bad things happening. And I think that a lot of the businesses that the cat bus drops off, like running the thieves in their own sort of cat bus very, very briefly, which is a great marketing exercise. But I think perhaps approaching those businesses to tip in a bit of dough to the cat bus, especially on the weekends, because we're really talking about more so like the Thursday, Friday, Saturday maybe, where the cat bus could maybe trade a little later, and they could maybe contribute a bit there. So just some thoughts, ideas.
Any responses? Adam, at SciTech, what we're really, really good at is clear and concise explanations. What is your SciTech-esque description of the state of the political landscape in Fremantle mid-2025?
Thanks. No pressure. Fremantle is like an amazing place. It's a very special spiritual place. It's for thousands of years. It's been a very special connection between the river, the ocean, the land, the air, and it has a very, very rich history of changes and important kind of trend setting, if you like. So I think Fremantle has this opportunity to really kind of set a new kind of benchmark or bar for the changes that we want to see in Perth, in Western Australia, and maybe even nationwide, who knows. We've done a lot of good things already, so I think the main thing is we should get together, have a conversation about how we work together to all get on the same page, agree the principles and values that we want to live by, and really, really just like make the right connections and the right plans and the right strategies to make that change happen.
Brilliant. Well done.
Also, could we think about, if we do get a cat bus, getting some bike racks on them?
Absolutely, and also
Like in Copenhagen or places like that. Canberra.
absolutely, and let's talk about pedestrianisation as well. It's like they go hand in hand. The public transport works. Free public transport, in particular, works when we sort out less cars, more pedestrian areas, more pedestrianised areas, more open alfresco dining. The whole thing kind of goes wrapped in hand.
Well-insulated houses.
Well-insulated houses.
Hey, for a while, alfresco dining establishments.
Given that we've got topic of cat buses and that sort of thing, I thought maybe I'd put a bit of information to that space too. The cat bus, we tried to get the state government to invest more money into the cat bus. We as a council were putting in, Andrew, my colleague behind you might remind me, I think we were putting in about 60%.
It's actually about
40%, 60% state government, 40 us. Anyway, but in many other places, state government almost completely funds some systems. And here we have Fremantle, which is the tourist destination of Perth, I would say, really. They weren't interested in coming to the party. We did talk to Notre Dame, we did talk to other, because the students were using it as a route where they could park for nothing at the south and catch a bus and go to uni. So there were all kinds of good reasons why it would have been great to see it continue. But it got to the point where it was like, well, what do we do as a council? We originally this bus was meant to be a central area transit system, which is like the tourist route. And it had become almost like a local bus. In the same discussion, Rachel Pemberton, who was on council at the time, tried to get the opportunity for free public transport within the whole of our municipality happening. And so we did ask the state government, but of course they weren't interested. And so I was, talking earlier about the whole transport thing, and I really just think, and I think a couple of people behind me would also have the same view, that to have free public transport, full stop, would just mean we'd all start catching. It would just make it so much easier, and the whole long-term thing. So I kind of think, well, I'm not sure the cat is what we should really fight for. I think what we should really look for is how do we make people, not make, but encourage people to really get into public transport.
I'd just like to quickly comment on that one. I think the funding definitely is the most important part about getting the cat back, because that's how it works. And I think because it is such a community service, and local businesses definitely benefit from it, uni students benefit from it, so many different people benefit from it, and I think that is maybe how we need to target getting the free transport back, because I understand Notre Dame didn't necessarily jump on board with the idea, but maybe if we try and target businesses as well, so Notre Dame don't have to fund as much. I don't know, I feel like if we share the funding around a bit more, maybe that might be a good answer. Yeah.
That's the short answer, that no one was interested, not even the state wasn't, the businesses weren't, it was just like...
Maybe Notre Dame could help with the rates they don't pay for all those lovely Western.
Yeah, well, that's right. We asked them to pay rates, and then we might have invested, look, it was just like a complete roadblock, so...
Maybe she's trying to get in on the Catholic education level.
And maybe there could be some petitions to Notre Dame. I don't think it's dead in the water.
Yeah, that's why I've got to go back to the idea of broad public transport.
But we know that at this stage with finance to be utopian, with hospitals and other things, but it starts small and grows big. But petition and action as a community, those places that we would like to contribute, as opposed to coding from one voice at being a council or something like that, that the community go to these people on a petition level.
I was thinking of a possible catalyst for it, and that was that in, I think it's the weekend of January the 26th, the World Championship Sailing Regatta is coming to Fremantle, to Bathers Beach. And as an ex-sailor, I've been following that. So a week ago they had their event in Portsmouth in the UK, and they had 60,000 people there. 60,000 people came to watch that. We're obviously not going to get that sort of numbers, but we are going to get a huge number of people. And how are we going to get them there and back again?
That's a good business case.
So...
And also just around Fremantle.
That's right.
From South Beach. South Beach was, historically in the 1920s, one of the most popular beaches in Western Australia. And that is another big part of the cat bus. People, and it's, as Andrew knows, I work with Andrew on that. When we petitioned to save South Beach from motorised vessels, when I was doing all my stats and data on that beach, the amount of people that came from not only internationally, nationally, but statewide, from the train onto the cat to get to that beach was phenomenal. And that went through state parliament.
I was thinking specifically about Bathers Beach because it's a very awkward place to get to.
But no one's going to be able to swim there, so they're going to want to go to South Beach.
This sailing event for 60,000 people is going to be at Bathers Beach.
I know, but no one's going to be able to swim at Bathers Beach. They want to swim at South Beach.
No, they will, because the shark net's going to be at where that area is going to be at.
And there's another problem.
They'll be outside the shark net.
This is all about public transport and parking and things like that, and it just hasn't been thought through. This could be the catalyst for creating the thought about what do we want to do in public transport.
Pardon me, Paul. I'm going to jump in here because it's 5 minutes to 9 o'clock. We've got 2 more questions, and then you're welcome to continue those thoughts after the discussion. I'm so sorry to interrupt. Everybody's been so patient. Freo Massive.
Hi everyone. I just wanted to share a little story actually. I was talking to my brother-in-law who
works in a architectural firm in the city, which is involved with building lots of corporate buildings, including Freo and Yagan Square. And he was saying that they had a meet and greet in the office recently. A lot of Perth people came, no one from Freo, and the topic was Fremantle. Now, it saddened me deeply to hear what he had to say, which was, the question was asked, what do you think of Fremantle? How do you feel about Fremantle? And the general consensus answer was, people feel scared in Fremantle now. The people that were at this meeting, they said they feel scared in Fremantle. That's something to think about. Now, I think that the street situation is obvious. Monday to Thursday, there's almost nobody in Fremantle. Yeah, it cranks up Friday, Sunday, thank God for the markets. Freo markets is always heating, got to keep that going. I agree 100% on the cat bus situation, that needs to come back. The parking's always an issue. And toilets, there's no toilets anywhere, there's no showers, there's nowhere for the street people to go and, relieve themselves, or they get arrested. And one of them just told me recently that they have to use wipes. Now, the police presence is diabolical, it makes anyone not want to go there. And I don't know if anyone's actually recently walked through the centre of Fremantle, like really walked and really had a look, but there are so many shops empty, it's like war zone out there. Things need to change, like ASAP. And it's called humaning. We start with humaning. Thank you.
We can watch the dynamic relationship between more police in the city and humaning live.
Thanks, Christian. I've just got comments more than anything, I suppose. I think Freo is people are very passionate about Fremantle, and so it's always a city that's in the spotlight, and people always have opinions on it. Just in reference to tonight's speakers, congratulations, you're all really interesting to listen to. Skye, I think your discussion has highlighted and could be a catalyst from the grassroots up for a better public transport system from the south, particularly into Fremantle. It's diabolical trying to travel south, and it's only going to get worse. So that's something that I think we should be looking at long term, and that's really where the solution will lie. And Paul, on your topic about loneliness, friendship, and all, everything that goes with it, I think it's important that people realise, we're speaking to the converted, preaching to the converted here. A lot of us get up and go and do things and talk to people, but it's your friend or the person that lives next door that isn't so confident, and you've got to be aware of that, and just reach out to those sort of people and let them know what's around. In this day and age of getting on the internet, it's so easy for people just to get stuck in their own little hole. So you've just got to be conscious of that and try and get people out and about. The flip side of that is you can use it, things like South Fremantle Precinct, where you can advertise events that are going on in your area, are really important. One that I can highlight is, I run a barbecue for men's mental health called Mr. Perfect, and it's amazing to see that people it's just, it's something I took over from someone else, but after having participated in those barbecues, I saw things, in people that I didn't realise, because I've always taken it for granted through my association with sporting clubs and other different community groups. Tonight we talked about knitting group, we've talked about people who are interested in politics, whether it's sport, doesn't matter what it is, there's usually something there for someone, and then once they get involved, that's when, it might be a random event, but that's when you meet people, and that's when things will stick. But it's just getting them there in the first place, so I think that's really important. Thanks.
So that's Councillor Fidel Kamada, and the Mr. Perfect barbecues are fantastic. And so, yeah, you just Google it. Just
Third Sunday every month.
Third Sunday every month.
Yeah, but that's. Let me just add to that. That's specifically for men who. Can I just add one thing?
Please.
Sorry.
No, it's good. It's valuable.
An important point.
We've had people who, for example, men who have finished their employment, retired, and realised that that's all they had in their life. You know, the first month or so they went back to, you know, work functions and so on, and slowly they were forgotten and out of the system. And they've come to these barbecues and watched a couple of times before they've actually had the courage to get out of the car. So this is the sort of thing we're talking about. And so that works in that case, but then whether it's kids, whether it's elderly women, whether people in all different sort of categories, you know, there's something there for someone, and it's important that we keep finding those, you know, what's important for individuals. Thanks.
Now I'm going to invite the speakers to share their closing thoughts before Rob and I finish off the night. Shall we begin with Skye?
Thank you everyone for your interest in what I've had to say tonight. I really appreciate everyone's perspectives. I do believe that the Cat Bus is a community service, and that is one of the reasons why I wanted to speak tonight, because this is a community function. So the more we talk about it as a community, the more likely we are to get it reinstated. So I just encourage everyone to keep pushing for not necessarily the Cat Bus, but whatever you believe in Freo. And yeah, thank you.
It's events like these which really make Fremantle what it is. We connect, we talk. Sometimes we disagree, a lot of the time we agree, and we keep making things happen. I've explained already, you gave me the opportunity, thank you Christian, for giving me this opportunity, and see you there, I hope.
Thank you for listening to me talk earlier. I just encourage you that if you've ever thought about going along to a meeting around your residential areas, please do. If you think you don't have a voice, you absolutely do, and it's really pivotal that that voice is heard no matter what it has to say, because everybody has their own thoughts and feelings and opinions, especially about Fremantle. Everyone always has an opinion about Fremantle, but when you come into your residential group, you can actually start to join those voices together and get some action happening and see some really wonderful things happen. So I hope to see you guys, if you're in Hilton, come along to Hilton, or any of your other precinct groups.
Thank you very much for sharing your wisdom.
Can I please have the biggest round of applause of the entire evening for Skye Atherton, Emma Livesey, Adam Bennett, and Paul Loring.
He's so beautiful.
Community Conversations is at Wally Civic Centre. That's at the centre of the city at 11 to 1 p.m. tomorrow. And that was interesting. Let's talk about it. It's the 26th of August, next month at Urban Winery from 6:30 p.m. Do come along. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to invite the Honourable Robert Delves up here to share his thoughts and finish off the night.
I hope we will enjoy next month. It's breaking with the normal way we do things, which is a good thing to do in itself. We're not meeting here, we're meeting at the Urban Winery, and we are not going to have a panel, and we're not going to have Q&A to a panel because there won't be a panel. So it's just open discussion on your thoughts about this very important topic of what we made of those two very unusual elections. And then September is pretty fixed as well, because we believe very strongly that local candidates for the Fremantle Council deserve a space where they can present their views and have them questions, and politics in the pub is the place to do that. And we will have a fairly informal session like we have here. Give them a chance maybe to say, what is your one big idea for Fremantle, and then questions. And I think we will encourage Notre Dame to have the mayor candidates forum in more formally. So that's the next 2 months pretty much agreed, but October and November are up for grabs, and we would really like over the next month or two your ideas so that we can say what you guys would like to talk about. We will talk about, but we'll see you next month at the Urban Winery.
Stick around and make friends. Thanks for coming. Have a wonderful evening.